So thank you very much for the introduction, Philly, and welcome everyone. I called it LinkedIn for Skeptics. Actually, I gave this talk as a request from chief financial officers for PricewaterhouseCoopers, who were a little bit reluctant, I would say, on using LinkedIn, and they asked if I could give them some insights and some practical guides, and I kind of refurbished this, as I had some people from academia or enterprises approaching me on like really practical hands-on stuff. So even though I'm working at the university, I think I only quote 2 studies and there's no exam afterwards. And I did it in a more entertaining way. On me, I'm working as a researcher at the University of the Federal Armies because some people asked. No, I'm not in the military. I'm really just in the entrepreneurship department. I'm also lecturing at Munich Business School and Digital Business University in Berlin. I work for Tintec, that's a communication platform company. And yes, my research is on entrepreneurship, and I believe very much in like doing the talk. So I also founded a couple of companies and really excited about this opportunity. And I'm going to talk about TikTok today. Not really. I'm going to mention TikTok, but I know you answered some questions, but would really be curious to also just really know a little bit about you. So if you could, you can either go to the website slido.com and then type in these numbers, or you just grab your cell phone, scan the QR code, and then just give me a little indication. This was pre-filled by Philly. I did a tech check. Which channels you are using if we have TikTok. Xing. Okay, I'm gonna have some words on Xing as well, because I sometimes get asked if this is still a relevant network or not. But we have a lot of LinkedIn users and no one TikTok yet. And now that I see Twitter, I thought I could, what is the new one? Mastodon? Yeah, could have added this as well. Okay, a good indication that most of you are already on LinkedIn. So I guess you are on LinkedIn, but you might not be using the platform very actively yet. I hope to change this. And today I'm going to give you some tips and tricks. But before going into tips and tricks, what I'm really keen on is a little bit explaining the mindset and the skill set, because I really believe in, let's skip this, that if you understand the mechanisms behind it, it's much easier. And not starting off with Mr. Freud, but something that if people are hesitant about using LinkedIn is that they feel like it's too much bragging and boasting. And one thought that actually doesn't come from Freud directly, but it's a Jewish proverb, but I like it very much because it's very telling, which says, don't make yourself so small, you're not that big, is that sometimes, or just maybe entertain this thought for a second or so, that if you see a post and you think like, oh, how can they be so bragging about their achievements? It might be also a little bit of like jealousy, or maybe you also wishing or hoping that you would be brave enough to take that stage. This guy, he's also active on like a lot of social media channels, and I like him a lot. He's called Simon Sinek. Great piece that I read yesterday or listened to in video format on Gen Z. And he says that if you try to bring a topic or something across, start with a why and then go on the what and the how. And I'm basically kind of using the structure because I think it's really useful to understand. And pre-warning, I'm gonna start big. And sometimes I feel like if you really go that big, it might come across a little bit like you're coming across like a conspiracy theory. But networks might change. Like every one of you who's on Twitter and currently like contemplating, should I leave the platform or not? Same basically could happen with LinkedIn, that it's like bought by a I don't know who else is there out there, Jeff Bezos, or like Elon Musk, like goes on another shopping spree whatsoever. So it's basically important just to understand the mechanisms behind it, so you basically can apply it to any platform. And the big thing that is happening underneath is what I call kill the middleman. And these, they were called the big four. So it's not working because Facebook is now called Meta. So it's the big more. They basically all established business models on that. And for media or for you, this is quite important. And my one of the characters basically shaping this is Donald Trump. So what he did is that he basically did what Amazon and Facebook did. He did that in media consumption. So basically, in politics before that, it was like the politicians stand in front of the press and then the press reported. And by being so active on Twitter, Trump totally bypassed that and said, like, I'm your politician, I'm talking to you directly. I'm not judging if this is good or bad. I'm just like stating that that this is happening. And if you see it on like every thread is also an opportunity, is that I don't know if you ever saw that audience wise, it's basically that currently you have the opportunity to be presented on the Tagesschau, maybe not the actual Tagesschau, making it on the news, or into the FAZ, which is like for all international students, one of the biggest newspapers here in Germany. But if you look at LinkedIn, you have 12.9 million active monthly users, and that is a greater reach than the Tagesschau or the one of the biggest German newspapers. However, now that I kind of told you what's in it for you, I have some sad news, because the mere fact, even though it's something that we should all celebrate that you are on Earth, it doesn't have news value yet. However, there is some shift. I'm not very much into soccer, but there is another tendency that we can see, and it's I don't know how old you are, but this is kind of one iconic picture when the World Soccer Cup was taking place in Germany, and Angela Merkel basically made it into the locker room. And from pictures that make it into the newspaper, you usually can tell a lot of, like the perception, or it's a good indicator. And this photo picture became so iconic because it was this intimate moment. Like, not everyone can just go into the locker room, but Angela Merkel can. Nowadays, all of you can. This was posted in March 2022. So 670,000 people tuned in to watch Cristiano Ronaldo have a shower on Instagram Live. And this basically tells you something about like what in former times talking like 10 or 20 years ago, distance, you see this also in management, distance was something that you wanted to achieve because it brought you respect. And now it's proximity. Like everything on Instagram works this way, that a star is in a way unreachable, but with Instagram, like you can like follow them into their homes. So this whole proximity factor is becoming more and more important, and this is also being replaced. You can see this. I had this picture in there because yeah, she made it into the news, but she also, like, you can see a lot how she changed her media behavior in the last years, how she became more and more approachable. Like she had this where she this little video where she jumped out of a helicopter together with James Bond. She had this movie with Paddington. So like even like the need to kind of come closer to the people. And the same goes a little bit like how we view managers. Like Mark Zuckerberg, he's a little bit older now, but he still wears t-shirt. And now in management, if you look back, I don't know, 10 or 20 years, everyone would be wearing a tie. And now it's this like, you come in a shirt, you come with sneakers. It's more this like down to earth. So it's what we call digital intimacy a little bit. And it's the art of creating proximity And what some people sometimes kind of confuse is that being personal doesn't mean that you reveal private details, but it's still like showing a little bit of your human side, which usually attracts people. I guess at this stage you are probably in the position that you say like, oh, all well and good, but please without me. And I want to challenge this assumption a little bit. This is another age test, because if you've been using Microsoft Word for a very, very long time, then you know that, I don't know, I think it's already 10 or 20 years ago, there was this little helper, and it kind of like popped up once you didn't find something. It was like, hey, can I help you? And I don't know if you were aware of that Microsoft purchased LinkedIn 2 years ago, and it hasn't been discussed much, even though it's, I think, one of the most interesting mergers ever, because if you combine, and this is the idea behind this purchase, the 1 billion Microsoft users together with the 433 million LinkedIn members, then you get a very unique combination. And that was the thinking behind it, that in the future, if you're, for example, working in a work document, writing about, like, I don't know, success criteria for venture capitalists, instead of like the Microsoft helper showing up, it would recommend you actually experts or people who have an expertise in this field. So it's really about connecting professionals together. And here, a little bit the link to TikTok. I don't know if you are aware of, TikTok is not just videos. TikTok has turned into, for the younger generation, the biggest search engine. So looking for recipes, looking for whatever, a lot of people would go for TikTok and actually use it as a search engine. And this behavior, that if you're searching for certain information, you would go possibly for LinkedIn in this business case, or when there is a closer connection to the Microsoft products, that you get these automatic recommendations from AI, is a high likelihood. And this is why you should get prepared. And another aspect is that we used to talk about careers as an elevator careers. So this is an assumption: you start young, student, university, and then your career basically always goes up. That was true for our parents or for our grandparents. Usually they also stick with one employer. There's the saying like, once Siemens, forever Siemens. You basically started in one company, then you made your way up, and then you retired at one age. Nowadays, it's rather like this. It's a roller coaster ride for everyone. And taking this into account, I like this quote. I'm also at the end of the talk have together like some reading recommendations, and he is an expert on personal branding. And he says, in the digital age, being good at your job is no longer enough. You must be both good and visible. And yeah, if you're currently hesitant posting stuff on LinkedIn, this is something that you should consider. I often come across people who say like, I'm really good at what I'm doing. And then they, this is what you usually say about women, that they fall into this trap, but I see more and more men doing it as well, is like thinking being good is enough, but you must be good and visible. Because yes, you can't read it, but that's on purpose. It says you, very, very little. There's an ocean of experts, people out there. If you think about everything currently happening also with remote work concepts or work from anywhere, that basically means that now you're not only competing against people in Germany for a job position, but like from anywhere in the world. So it's like more and more important to really also be found in this big sea out there. Because those who cannot be found do not exist. Again, it's not judging, it's just kind of stating the fact. And always from the positive side, going on the opportunities, there is something that you see now more and more, which is called, all this like B2B for business to business and B2C for business to consumer. There is a model which is called D2E, direct to expert, which means, for example, that in previous times you would have if as a bigger enterprise you were looking for some like expertise on a certain topic, like financial advice, you would have gone to PricewaterhouseCoopers, for example, like one of the companies that stands for it. And now it's more like, and just by like buying this company, buying all the trust, and now you would you also want to know like who's really the expert, or you would be working with like freelancer experts, especially on certain topics. So for you, if you see it on the positive side, it's also the opportunity to basically create this expertise around the topic that you want to stand for. And another reason why it's important is that you shouldn't underestimate also this aspect of I know someone. So this teaching at university, the first theory, the first and the only one, which is called social networks or social ties theory. And it basically means that you have strong ties that should be your friends, sorry, that should be your family. And there it's all about quality. And then you have weak ties. So if you play tennis or golf, the friends you have there. And research says that if you're looking for a new job or a new opportunity, the likelihood that it comes from your strong ties is not so high, but it's very likely that basically the friend of the neighbor, these are the important people for your professional career. And yes, there's no better place or reach where you could get this than LinkedIn. Another and one of the last shifts also that you have in careers perspective is Daniel Pink. You probably know him because he wrote a very good book called Drive, which talks a lot about the motivation of sales. Thanks, Philly. On the motivation. And he says that professional loyalty now flows horizontally to and from your network rather than vertically to your boss. So this old thinking, maybe a little bit coming from the elevator aspect, is now not that relevant anymore. I lied. Underneath this is another theory, which you know from Boudoir, on social capital. And basically you are now able to build up your own personal social capital. This was animated badly, but I corrected it now. In an overview and closing the why, you basically had career yesterdays, the elevator careers. It was always going up. Nowadays it's a roller coaster. You had lifelong employment, and you basically by being affiliated with your employer, you had like your path set up for education. Now the responsibility will shift towards you and your own career and basically managing it. In the past, you could lie that like just by belonging to a company, like a certain expertise was coming along. This is now changing or shifting towards direct to expert more. You used to get a network via the company, and you still get this, but in a lot of cases, you now also see the expectation that you bring your own network. This was always true if you're going for higher positions, like you wanted to, I don't know, become a partner in a law firm or so. It was always this assumption also that you bring your network of clients, but this is now like even at smaller levels becoming more important. So you're starting somewhere as, I don't know, a communication manager, then like bringing your network of graphic designers, for example, like that's a plus, a definite plus. Business is people business was true in the past as well, but now it's really this connections are becoming an asset. In the past, it was this distance. The more I am like unreachable, the more respect I got. And now it's moving more to this also showing a human side, because this is really a trust building element. In the past, you got a lot of value by belonging to the company. It's still true, like this is like very much black and white picture. If you have BMW on your business card, then there's still this like look. But it's also turning, or the component is becoming more and more important, that you become your own brand. I also, one side note, find it very, very interesting that on LinkedIn, you sometimes see this ex-Google or ex-Amazon, like how belonging to a company basically becomes part of your own brand. And last one, if in former times it was job search by demand, it's now this always open for new opportunities. I think it was today in the news that Amazon is currently laying off people. Like, yeah, we had this with Twitter. Currently everyone is talking about the recession. So basically, like it's about always being open for new opportunities. And for this, you need time and already invest into it even before it's happening. What? So I hope by this now you're convinced, or like maybe a little bit reaffirmed your assumption that it's necessary to be on LinkedIn, and not creating a bad conscience if you're not posting, but kind of like this necessity or urgency, why it would be a good thing to do so. But what and how? This is usually the question, or you might be wondering what to post. This is a true hashtag. For all the non-Germans, I translated it. It really exists, like I didn't make this up. Söder, the Prime Minister of Bavaria, he posted this. He was in Berlin, and he had, I already thought, like, why have this for breakfast, like fish? This is even worse because I think it really looks disgusting. It's apparently a Bavarian specialty. It works, but you don't have to do it. I'm bringing in another perspective, and this is Herbert Dies. He was the LinkedIn CEO with the most followers, I think 300K. I said like in past times because he's no longer working at Volkswagen anymore. But he brings in an interesting aspect for all of you not working in academia, but working in management. He said that LinkedIn for him is a communication medium. It's not a communication medium, it's a management tool. And he said, like, if I want to spread the news, the intranet, it's like, I don't know, when people log in, he said on LinkedIn, I know that people are there and I can like get direct connections. I even know from some bigger companies that they have difficulties finding out like what the expert of fields they have in their company. And they sometimes use LinkedIn because they find out, oh, on this like specially sustainability topic, this expert is actually working at our company, because once you have a size of like, I don't know, 100K employees, it's sometimes difficult to track down who's really working for you. And I think this is an interesting aspect. So you have two opportunities, active and passive, like always in life. And I'll show you both. So starting off, you basically can start off with this visibility and attention, and then go to building a network. And I would call those two still like on the passive side. Then it's like moving towards competitive advantage on the job market, lead generation, and then positioning as an expert. Active. Actually, this is the wrong way around. The first two are passive, and then it's getting active. I'm not going to be like all the teachers and say this was a test. That was really a mistake for me. Here I put it on a different angle. So this on the upper scale, you have the amount of work, because yes, it is also connected with work, and on the other angle, you have the benefit that you could get from it. So first one, and this is really something that I would say is non-debatable. You should have an updated profile. you should have a picture on it. What is currently trendy and what I like, but it needs a little bit of thinking, is that people have nice taglines. This is from a friend of mine. She's a professor, and a professor for consumer behavior, and her tagline is, "Everybody is in the business of behavior change, some just don't know it yet." Or he's a statistic professor at the LMU. He has every model is wrong, some models are wronger. So if you manage to what you stand for put together in one tagline, which is also a little bit witty and funny, that is like the crème de la crème. Yeah. There is an about section at LinkedIn. It's not a must, but it could also be for you a good opportunity to also ask yourself, like, what do I want to stand for? Like, what are the topics that I'm really excited about? Be it like sustainability, be it like if you're an engineer. For me, it's everything related to entrepreneurship, everything related to new work and innovation. And that's also a really easy thing to do, is publications, in case you have any, and please ask people for recommendations. This is an example of a tagline, which I also really, really much like. She is basically saying she's an influencer on behalf of our clients. So she also already makes clear, like, that's for a sales position, what she's standing for, and basically having a good mixture in how I find between promoting herself, but also promoting her company. And yeah, ask for recommendations, because it's the best. First of all, if you think of the lot of applications that you basically now can just send out via LinkedIn, and this is the most honest and visible feedback that you can get. Try to also get it really, if you're a manager, from like employees. It's what you, if you're in assessment centers or in evaluations, would call 360-degree feedback. But yeah, it's your opportunity to basically like show people or give you like what I said earlier on, like this proximity. For me, it's also interesting to kind of, I think it displays you and your personality and what you're bringing to the table in a very good way. And yeah, it's something that you can easily do. Funny side story, can get a job this way, because one of the people in my team actually asked me, he was a former student, he asked me for a recommendation, and then I said like, well, are you waiting for a job? Are you looking for a job? Let's talk. I might have one. So yeah, asking for recommendations is a thing that I can highly recommend you. It might lead to jobs, and it's just something where you basically can get a good statement. Building a network. I sometimes have people telling me like, oh, I'm not on LinkedIn, there's nothing interesting there. If you say the same, it's your fault. I would say everyone gets the newsfeed they deserve, because of course you can influence your newsfeed. So if you know which topic you are interested in, go specifically looking for people who already like use the hashtags like sustainability, space tag, new space, whatever you want to stand for. Google for people and get actively in contact for them, because then you will get like a really, really good news feed. And I must say, most or the best information, not like the up-to-date news, but really like what is going underneath, I get from my network and I get via LinkedIn. That was the passive part. Now we are getting active. Positioning as an expert. Usually people want to start there, like they want to be invited as speakers. And then they think, if I'm invited as a speaker, then my network will grow and my followers. Sorry to say, it's the other way around. This guy, by the way, follow him if you like, if you're interested into new work. He's an agile coach at Celebrate. And he posts really, really, really good stuff. Here, he posts about, yeah, he's leading a workshop. And this is actually how it works. This is a screenshot from my private mail correspondence. So last week, I'm not always a good example. I'm also behind posting. But last week, I was speaking at a conference on Web3. And here in the email, you see how it works. Like they prepare you what to post. You don't need to do it exactly like this. But if you get invitations for being a speaker nowadays, they don't just hire you as a speaker, but what I said earlier on as the community as an asset, they also kind of buy you or want you to to bring them audience, because if I'm posting this to the people, my connections, like they basically have free advertisement. So yeah, if you want to be like more on stage or like really position yourself as an expert, it usually starts first with try to grow your follower base, and then you get the speaker invitations. Yeah, here it's in one sentence. It's bring your audience right along with you, and followers being the new asset. The next level we're getting more and more active is lead generation. So if you're into lead generation because you work as a free consultant, or you, I don't know, have a side business, or want to, like, I don't know, have some entrepreneurial part in you that you want to bring into the world, always, and even if you are a social media at a company, like never post something without a call to action. So contact me. One trick is, you will often see it is like that if you're posting about something and it, like you're referring to a study or something more in detail or a link, then you say like the link in the first comment. You can offer a freebie or a goodie. I will tell you how this works. But what you shouldn't do, I blinded them out because I don't want to blame people, but I think there are smarter ways than, and every one of you probably knows this, like these just people contact you and then they, I don't know, offer you outsourcing services or whatever. There are plenty of examples. This is usually my response. No interest, because it works the other way around nowadays. It's this push-pull. You offer something and then people, I think there was one incident, and I've really received a lot of these emails where it was the right timing and I replied. So I would say, please don't. There are nicer and smarter ways in doing this. And something would be like offering a freebie. I'm taking examples from me. So this is where I gave a talk on NFTs and Web3. And I'm really thinking on like putting together these slides and all the information I collected in a playbook. So I just wrote this post and then said in the end, I'm working on a playbook on this topic. Drop a comment if you're interested in being a beta reader. This for me also has the advantage that on some things that I'm working on, I'm getting very early user feedback, which is helpful for me. Now we are getting to the competitive advantage on the job market, and that would be really using LinkedIn as a communication tool. That would be the level where you can be found for the right hashtags. You have references, and if you really want to be like very outspoken, you can also say, signal that you're actively looking for open positions. Herbert Diess did this in a very a good way. He also has some great examples when I was talking earlier on, like how you can bring across this proximity. So he was one, for example, who didn't just talk about e-vehicles, but he kind of personalized it because he was talking about a road trip together with his daughter. So he brought in some personal aspects, which really made it nice. And again, from his numbers, he said 30 to 50% of his followers are internally. So he is really using it as a communication tool. And this is another quote from him. He says he really also uses it for employee communication. So he's getting like unfiltered feedback. He can see immediately like what questions come in. Like it's much faster than some intranet. This one from Jeff Bezos, who says it's quite frankly, branding is what people say about you when you are not in the room. It's time for you to get active again, because if you scan this QR code, you can see how good you are already. Just scan it and it should be connecting you to LinkedIn automatically. And there you can see your social selling index. However, you can read it here. Values between 60 and 80 are already among the top rankings. This, of course, depends a lot on which industry you are in. Like if you are in a very niche industry, like for example, news space, or if you are in a very big one like mobility, like it really differs. But yeah, that gives you a little indication on compared in other, and it already like please, I don't in any way want to disencourage you if like maybe your ranking is not that high, because if you're not very precise on your hashtags or what you're standing for, then you get like estimated against like everyone on LinkedIn, and that is just a very tricky game to play. It's good to be niche. Another practical tip, or what you might want to think about, is like there are different types of information you can post about. They can be informative, they can be inspiring, they can be educational, or they could be entertaining. They're probably like even more, but these are like 4 main categories which you can think about, like which one do you want to go for, because they all have a kind of different flavor and tonality, so you might want to be thinking about it. I don't know how many of you know this. It's called the business model canvas. If you ever think about founding a company, this is a super helpful tool, because it's basically like a visual business plan. You need to think about all the different areas. And there is something, it's basically adopted. You can just Google it, business model U, and then the PDF. And a good exercise to do before even start posting is like asking yourself, like, what do you stand for? Do you stand for the topic of data protection? Do you stand for the topic of like transitioning, helping companies with finances during transition phase? Do you want to be the sustainability expert? Like what do you stand for? What value do you want to bring? It's a good exercise, maybe with a glass of wine or 2, or over the weekend, now that it's getting dark so early, something that you can just do for yourself to find out, like yeah, what is your USP, unique selling proposition, is which we usually use in marketing to kind of say, like, how does one company stand out before all others? And you basically can also in a way apply it for yourself, because if you want to like post in a meaningful way, you really need to ask yourself, like, who do you want to reach? What's your target group? What do you bring to the table? What do you stand for? What is your intention? You can do both. You can do all. You can do educate, inform, entertain, or inspire. Doing it all in one post is difficult, but what is your mixture? Investment. How much time do you really want to invest? What's your aim? What are the topics you're standing for? What's the style? Do you want to write friendly, witty, bold? And what is the intention behind your activities? Like, do you want to already, like, are you on job search right now? Do you want to prepare? Do you want to maybe like get some side activities as a consultant to basically have like a second pillar for financial stability? Third part, going very very practical tips. What always works and kind of has a nice tone is refer to others greater than you. And I have here an example from someone who is so big that he actually doesn't have to do it, but he still does it. Bill Gates, who said, that was Warren Buffett, wishing him, here you can see, it's his Warren Buffett's face on the cake. That, of course, is like done in a very elaborate way, but a very, very kind, smart, and clever and human-centered way, I would say, on like establishing your reputation is also to referring to others that are greater than you. This, I just see it's bad quality, but Gülsa Wilke, if you don't follow her, follow her. She's like very inspiring. She has this Two Hearts community where she really advocates for immigrants in Germany. She is CEO of Ada Health, one of the biggest global health techs. And she, okay, I don't know when it will happen to you, but she met the chancellor at an event, and yeah, just made a great summary and referred to these people. And that, of course, always gets a lot of entertainment. Second one, make it entertaining. I don't know who of you knows this lady. I love this example. She's called Miss Excel, referring to TikTok. For me personally, Excel and me are not best friends. It's even worth with statistic programs, but me and Excel, it's like, she does on TikTok short videos explaining like pivot tables, Excel shortcuts. If you know TikTok, it's 30 seconds. She does it in an entertaining way. She's incredibly successful. I would say she's probably earning more than most of you in the webinar today. But it's a great example that if you can get like excitement, or of course you need to put some thought into it, but if you can get something out of explaining Excel functions, then I would say like there's no topic boring enough that you can't come up with something. And what you have in mind, and this is why I find TikTok so interesting, is that people have the attention of a goldfish. So 4 seconds, and then their attention is elsewhere. This is also an encouragement too, and this might become tricky for you if you're very, very deep into your topic, but you say that you've reached a certain level of excellence if you can bring heavy topics and transform them in a very, very light way. This is a professor that I really, really like. He's teaching at the University of Berlin in art, and he basically had a comment in one of the big German newspapers where people were mocking about his activities on Instagram, actually. And he said, like, you know what, don't take everything so serious. Like, yes, post your lunch, like, just take it as like small pieces of kindness that you could be throwing into the world. Coming to some personal and private, to some bad, I would call them bad tendencies that I'm currently seeing at LinkedIn, and I will show you what I mean and also do explanations. Currently, there's a lot of clickbaiting at LinkedIn. This is one for all of you who are not into German. He basically, it's a clip, and he talks about if he should go to the hairdresser or not. This is actually a super interesting guy. He's the founder of Gymshark, but he's sharing the news that he's becoming a father. Yes, we are all humans. It's attracting us. I would call it a little bit cheap clickbaiting. You don't have to. I think for him, it's a communication and media strategy because he wants to be this founder who's like approachable and like very clear. There was always the saying, and like if you look at the internet, what is still performing best are videos on cats. Plus, there is another study that if you have a cat picture in a presentation, people remember it more easily. This is, I think, the worst example. So you nowadays see a lot of pictures of like someone just doing a selfie. This is the combination like selfie and a dog. And then the text is basically not relating to the picture. It's called in German, it's like Text-Bildschere. In journalism, that would be a no-go. So you have a picture and basically the text underneath is not belonging to it. In English, it's called a text-image mismatch. And it's basically just going for cheap clickbaiting. It works. That just to say, also, if you watch your own behavior, you will probably, like, if you see this selfies and it's someone beautiful or whatever, it's like, it's just how we humans are conditioned to act. Like, it checks our attention, but then you have this again area of disappointment where you think like, why this text? It's not related. And I would say there are smarter ways to get attention. One of them is what I call public learning, and I'm showing you some examples on how you could do it. So this is Michael Arena. Great example. So if you come across an article that you find interesting, and I'm not talking about news that are like daily news, because everyone will get their daily news from like other media outlets, but something that is like having background information, or something that is like really, I don't know, explaining a phenomenon. Like take this article and instead of just like saving it for you, write some sentences on like why you like it, and share it with your followers. Great way to get a reputation for yourself. It's also this kind of like learning. Advanced one, and also like this one, Stefan Smaller, he's CEO of the West Wing, this furniture company. What he does is basically he always selects articles on like various topics. You have here like complaint storms. He has something on how to structure a board meeting. So he collects all the different links, and it might be the same for you that you come across like interesting topics. So just select them, put them on a list, and post them once you have 10. It's for you also a good reminder, because sometimes I'm like, oh, I read that was interesting, and then I forget about it. This is, he works for the Swiss healthcare management. For everyone who is in academia, we have to do this anyway. We have to read a lot of studies. Why not? Just write the summary on a white paper or on a report and share it on LinkedIn. That is like meaningful content. A little bit more advanced is what Dr. Dennis Vogt is doing. He basically does the same. He picks up different studies he has, and he also has his own design language, his own layout and format, and he shares this. This is Thomas Sattelberger, politician, super active on social media, TikTok as well. Classic of, if you go to an event, summarize the learnings, link people, say thank you, super easy way. You can also use it to share idea drafts. So Richard Watson is a good, I love to follow him, a futurist in residence. He's thinking about writing a new book, and he openly shares his book draft and says like, he's getting like early reader feedback. Like, what do you think about it? Like, do you like it? Same goes for Patrick Breitenbach. If you're into new work or agile, super interesting. He's preparing a workshop and like sharing his initial thoughts, which isn't an easy way to do. This, if you're into APIs, please follow this guy, Matthew Weinbold. He has a blog, Net API Notes, also for non-technicians, but really explained in a good way. And actually all his activities now led to him writing a book. So yeah, you can also use LinkedIn to kind of like chapter by chapter build up your own book. The two sharing rules on this would be curation. So it's not about sharing the latest news that, I don't know, FTX crypto went down, what is currently in media, but more about like the background behind it, or share information that adds some value and give context. So if you have these two components, then you're into it. I put it again on a radar. So if you look at the investment, and if you look at, I called it virality, like how high is the likelihood that it will get viral, and how brave you also need to be, because if you're just sharing an article with your own thoughts, it's not so much giving into like what you're really thinking. If you share idea drafts, there's a certain openness and bravery required from your side. So that would basically be, but you can start small and then basically work your way up. And if you're doing this, then you're doing great, I would say. For all of you thinking, the slogan of the internet has always been sharing is caring. If you think like, but isn't it is like this? Am I not giving away my knowledge for free? Yes, in a way you do, but you do this by using social media. There's a saying like, if you use any of the digital services, you pay nothing, you are the own product. But you can, let me, because I just saw that we are already, like, I'm already behind a little bit the time. What you can do, and these are just taste things, you can use emojis. There's this trick if you say, like, really actively ask people to comment below, because the more comments you get, the higher the likelihood that your shows get displayed. Slideshows are what you often see, like these PDFs where if you don't just have a text, but you basically put the different your different statement in different slides. That performs pretty well. There are some like rules on which hours are best to post. However, I would say if you post like unnecessary stuff or something that is not interested, you can post it like at the best hour. It probably will still not perform as good as something that is like thought through or gets like attraction or a lot of interaction. You should post regularly. I'm also not good at this, but yeah. And don't post two things at the same day. Give a post 2 days to kind of get traction, because before you're posting the next one, otherwise you're basically cannibalizing yourself. If you want to be a little bit more professional and like do some nice things like that, there's a website called Canva. I think it's about 10 euros a month, but it has plenty of templates, and it's as easy as PowerPoint to basically create something beautiful. If you want to sound like you studied in Oxford, there's something like called Instatext.io, where you can put in your text and it basically like sophisticates it in a very nice way. That's a question of taste. You can use different fonts if you like it. I'm not so much into it, but it basically sticks out and gets you some attention if you want that. Don't be afraid of shitstorms. Just don't talk about politics. Keep your opinions on gender, whatever, to yourself. LinkedIn is not the place for this. These last slide are some books that I can recommend. The founder of LinkedIn wrote a book himself, which is called The Startup of You, which basically says a lot why you should be, like, not just on LinkedIn. Unignorable, that's the guy I said earlier, an expert on personal branding. Yeah, now go and try.